advancement, to put our efforts to improve as a person. Can I go to the next one?
Yes.
Then next one is Samma Sati. Samma Sati is translated into English as right mindfulness. Right mindfulness is we try to be mindful always in our life, but Buddhism says we should be mindful of correct things, to do the correct things. Especially being mindfulness is a very important thing. In most of the places, Buddhism says that being mindfulness is one of the basic principles for a successful life. Now, when the Buddha was advising to monks, sati mato, there is one term called sati mato. Being mindful is very much important, not to commit not to commit anything in monk's life towards the spiritual advancement. Now, this developing this ability within oneself, within the psychological patterns, to think the right thing and to be mindful, to preserve the right thing and not to allow enter the wrong things is very important. So that is called this Samma Sati. Sati is mindfulness. Then the last step is Samma Samadhi. Samadhi means concentration. Concentration means now as I explained earlier, the human mind is moved always by three basic powers. They are the greed, hatred and delusion.
Yes.
We are always moved by them, we are controlled by them. Now, for the development of mind, the first thing we should do is we should bring the functions of these greed, hatred and delusion under our control.
I see.
Under our control. At the moment they are not under control, but we should try our best to bring them under our control. This state is called Samadhi.
I see.
The pacification of naked behavior of human mind.
I see.
If we can pacify them, that level is called Samadhi. Actually on that comes this Vipassana meditation, which is leading to the real enlightenment.
I see. On that note, we have to take a short commercial break once again. So when we come back on the other side, we'll continue our discussion. Just a reminder, you can join us from 5 p.m. onwards today at the Vesak Kalapaya. And just after JMSL, we have a wonderful documentary lined up for you. So stay tuned for that as well. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to GMSL, and we are at the final leg of our interview on the Buddhist way of life, coinciding with this very holy day of Vesak. And just before the break, we were discussing with Swamin Wahansa about the Eightfold Path and the middle path in Buddhism, and he was detailedly explaining to us what the entire concept encompasses. Now I'd like to ask my next question from Professor. Professor, could you tell us a little bit about your experience on the Eightfold Path and what your interpretation of it is?
Now, the Buddha's message was really a response to what was happening in his day,
Yes.
the contemporary Indian world. You know, as you know, this was 7 centuries before the birth of Christ, and India was a land full of sages, saints, philosophers, what have you. It's a different, special kind of land. And the Buddha was born there, and at that time there were many other philosophers or founders of religion. They all had one thing in common: how to be happy. That's the basic question. How can man be happy? But they had different answers to it. There are two extremes. One said the way to be happy is to enjoy pleasures, enjoy music, wine, women, what have you. So there's one whole world. To be happy, you have to be, enjoy pleasurable life, sensual pleasures.
Yes.
The other said, no, that's not the way to be happy. You make your body painful.
Yes.
By hanging yourself and all kinds of things. So there are two extremes. And the Pali terms are Kama Sukalikan Yoga and Atta Kilamatan Yoga. These are two extremes. Now Buddha's is middle path. Don't go to those extremes.
Okay.
Come to the middle. And that's what he said. The middle path is what he explained very beautifully. The 8 steps or the 8 steps or phases of this path.
Yes.
Very nice. And when he mentioned the third one, Samma Vacha, it touches my area. I'm being a linguist. Language, it means mind your language.
Yes.
In other words, it simply says, in the modern terminology, mind your language. Be careful of your words, what you say. Because what you say can hurt a lot of people. If you are not mindful, your words can hurt people in a more difficult, when you make some physical hurt to somebody, it can pass away after some time.
Yes.
But the words that you use can be there, impressed in your way all your life.
Yes.
So be careful of the words you say. So of course then you say, don't lie, don't make false statements about others, so it hurts you. Then engage in gossip kind of thing. You kind of take other people for a ride by words. So this one whole area, how do we, so this is very applicable to modern times. Now we have a lot of trouble because of we can't guard our tongue.
Yes.
Or a mouth.
Yes.
So guard your tongue. Make only those statements that makes others happy. So that is meaningful. Rather than make it a very destructive kind of thing, say something that makes others feel happy about it. If I say make a nice statement about you, you'll be happy about it.
Yes.
Rather than saying something destructive.
Yes.
So when Samma Vacha means that kind of, use language in a profitable, meaningful way.
Yes. Swamin Vahansar, I'd like to explore this particular precept where we spoke about correct livelihood. Now, in today's context, does the same principles apply in today's context? And what has Lord Buddha preached in terms of how a lay person should spend his earnings? Has there been preachings on that, and what has been preached on that?
Yeah, now to put it in understandable terms, there are three principles for consideration.
Okay.
They are called Attadipateya, Lokadipateya and Dhammadipateya. I'm sorry for putting Pali terms.
That's okay.
Attadipateya means that is called self-consciousness. Now, if you are doing something against your heart, against your thinking, you have to prevent that one.
Yes.
That is one thing. The other one is the Lokadipateya. That is, in this world in which we are living, there are social laws, social ethics, social norms, customs and traditions. Those come under this what is accepted as right and wrong in the world we are living today.
Yes.
So we should not exceed those levels. Exceed those levels. The law, custom, tradition, ethics, such things. That is called Lokadipati. That should be taken as one criteria. Now, the first one also one criteria, that deciding that I am not doing anything against my heart. Then second one is I am not doing anything against the world, destructing the world, destructing the system of law, system of ethics, systems of behavior, etc. Then the highest level, spiritual level, is Dhammadipateya. Dhammadipateya means not to break the rules of Dhamma, not to break the rules of Dhamma. Now there is one very interesting saying in the book called Hattavanagalla Viharavansa. It is one of the chronicles of Sri Lanka, talking about this the history of this King Sirisangabo. Then there it is said that now we will give up our limbs to save our life.
Okay.
For example, now when a person becomes sick, the doctor recommends that a part of your body has to be amputated, otherwise the life cannot be saved. In that case, we agree that, of course, no? Now some part should be amputated because the life is to be saved.
Yes.
Now, I'm sorry, before that it says that to protect, to preserve the limb, to preserve the limb, we are ready to spend even all our wealth. Now say that my part of my leg is not well, so the doctor recommends that it needs this much of money
Yes.
for the operation and this thing. So naturally the natural movement will be, even at the loss of all the wealth, that anyone should be trying his best to preserve the limbs.
Yes.
Then to preserve the life, limbs are given. If we have to give a hand or leg or something to preserve the life, then we are ready to do that one. Now actually the exemplary level is to preserve the principles. To preserve the principles of Dhamma, the exact way should be even giving the life, one should be able to preserve the principles of his life. Even at the sake of his life, one should be able to preserve the principle. Of course that we know that all the members of common society are not bodhisattvas. This story is about a bodhisattva who was Sirisangabho, was a bodhisattva, but it is the highest level of thinking. Therefore, the preserving Dhamma, Dhamma means principles. One's right principles, preserving right principle is a very important thing. Actually, it is. This is something related to religious thinking. That now, when we think about a society like Japan, there is that something called harakiri. When a Japanese samurai go to war, say that samurai is not made to be defeated. Samurai is made to win. So it is compulsory for the samurai to obey to that principle. So the defeating in face of the enemy,
Yes.
is not up to him.
Yes.
Up to him. So he decides it is better to kill himself by cutting his stomach. Hara means stomach, kiri means to cut it. It is the most painful way to kill oneself. It means that the preserving principles,
Yes.
even giving up one's life, was admired in many societies in the world. But that story is a different story. But in this the chronicle, it said that if a person tries his best to preserve the principles of life, it should be done even dedicating his own life for that.
Yes. Professor, now we have all these definitions about health and about holistic living coming up from different places in the world. Lots of people talk about so many things that seem to have been discussed in Buddhism so many centuries ago. For example, the WHO has given the definition of total health as mental, physical, social well-being, and also they are debating on whether to involve spiritual well-being. Could you tell us, as someone who has traveled the world, who's really seen so much, how Buddhism compares in this modern world and this modern thought process, and especially in the context of holistic living?
As I said earlier, it's a very practical form of religion,
Yes.
or a way of life.
Yes.
It can be, it's not difficult at all to practice Buddhism,
Yes.
because you don't have to believe in anything.
Yes.
You believe in yourself, that you can do certain things with your body and with your mind.
Yes.
It can be done. So that doesn't, make things very easy for you to do that. You now say, if you take daily life, there are many things you can do physically and
Yes.
mentally.
Yes.
Now, he mentioned about the different worlds of thought and customs and all that. So,
Yes.
so we have, for example, from tomorrow, say,